Bobby Witt Jr., you, my friend, are going to be the AL MVP of this year. Guy's an absolute stud. Absolutely love this game. He is what we call in baseball, Ryan, a five-tool player, and is just a lead at absolutely everything.
This is episode number 59 of Hitting for the Cycle. That's Ben Kruse. I'm Ryan Touhey, and it is officially February, and pitchers and catchers are going to be reporting next week. And Major League Baseball's 2025 season is getting closer and closer, and the anticipation and the excitement is rising with each passing day. So, Ben, how are you doing today?
Doing good. It's closer and closer to baseball, like you mentioned, and excited for it.
Yeah, and I'm certainly ready for the spring. I'll tell you that. I'm sick of the snow coming down. It's going to be snowing a lot over the next couple of weeks. And yeah, we're going to get into it. This is going to be our prediction episode, one of two prediction episodes that we're going to be having for you guys. So this is going to be featuring our American League predictions, and in the following episode, we're going to be having our National League predictions. But before we get into our predictions, we just want to remind anybody to please follow Hitting for the Cycle on Facebook, X, and Instagram at HFTC ETB. Follow the Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB Network. Follow our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/ETB Network. And finally, listen to us on whatever platforms you get your podcasts.
Yep. And folks, this episode is always presented to you guys by Playback. Watching sports is, sorry about that, close with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everybody perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From planning fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB Network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. Playback, we're still doing a lot of stuff with them. Obviously, we're going to have NBA hopefully coming up, going on, pretty soon. We obviously had college football season. We got a couple games with them. So, Playback, we're still doing a lot of great things with, and, we're very happy to be one of their sponsors.
All right, so we're going to get into it, and you might as well start with the division that has our two favorite teams in, obviously the Yankees and the Red Sox. So we'll begin our predictions for 2025 with our division, the American League East. So the way that I think we're going to be doing this, so PECOTA released their projected 2025 Major League Baseball standings, and they're kind of interesting. And right off the bat, there are some things that have caught my eye. And so what I wanted to do, and I relayed this to Ben, is I wanted to try and compare and contrast our predictions along with PECOTA's. And then maybe at the end of the year, we can see how accurate we came or PECOTA came to knowing baseball for 2025. See if the fans know more than these projections. So in the American League East, obviously, my Yankees, they're the defending American League East champions, and they're the defending American League champions going into 2025. Despite that, though, PECOTA has the Orioles winning the American League East next season. The Orioles projections for next year are 89 wins and 73 losses, which is a very win-loss total for a division winner. The Yankees in second at around 88 to 89 wins and 73 losses. The Blue Jays in third at 85 wins and 77 losses. The Rays in fourth at around 82 to 81 wins and 80 to 81 losses. And your Red Sox in last at around 78 wins and 84 losses. So right off the bat, I can just tell my predictions are very different compared to PECOTA's American League East predictions. So going into this season, I'm just going to quickly review some of the additions that each team has made and notable subtractions. And I'm using this from MLB.com. So we'll start with my Yankees since they came in first last year. So the Yankees Obviously, notable subtractions. Juan Soto's the biggest one. Soto obviously went to the Mets on the biggest contract in sports history. They've also lost Gleyber Torres to the Tigers, Clay Holmes to the Mets as well. Nestor Cortez was traded to the Brewers for Devin Williams. Tommy Kahnle signed a free agent deal with the Tigers. And then the Yankees also lost John Birdie, Tim Meza, Jose Trevino, Cody Poteet. Those names are not that important, honestly. The Yankees, their notable acquisitions, their biggest offseason move this year was signing Max Fried to an 8-year deal. And they also, like I mentioned, acquired Devin Williams from the Brewers in exchange for Nestor Cortez and Caleb Durbin, which I thought was a very sneaky move by the Yankees. I thought that was a very good trade by them. They also brought in Cody Bellinger in a trade with the Cubs. They traded Cody Poteet for Bellinger. Paul Goldschmidt signed a 1-year deal with the Yankees, and they also re-signed Jonathan Loaizaga and Tim Hill. So, obviously losing Soto, definitely hurts the Yankee offense. I don't expect the offense to be as productive this season as last year. The Yankees are obviously going to be zapped of a lot of pop in that lineup. They're going to be relying a lot on Aaron Judge again to carry the load in the power department and in the average department and the RBI department too. So a lot of guys in this Yankee lineup are going to have to step up. This is going to be a couple of guys who I really want to see step up this season for the Yankees are Anthony Volpe and Austin Wells. This is going to be year 3 for Volpe specifically, and he's shown, he can, when he's hot, he can be a pretty good hit player, but he's too streaky. He also goes through too many prolonged cold spurts, and he doesn't get on base a lot. And the Yankees really need somebody to fill the gap in that leadoff role. And I think it's going to come down to either Volpe or Dominguez. So the Yankees are going to be running a lot of youngsters out there. But, despite, some of the question marks surrounding their offense, I still think the Yankees are going to have a good year, and even after losing Soto. So my prediction for the Yankees this year in 2025 is they'll finish with the same exact record as they finished 2024, 94 wins and 68 losses. And I think they'll finish first in the American League East again. For second place, I'm going to go with, this is going to be a gamble right away. Knowing the difference between me and Pacoda, I'm going to go with the Blue Jays. And I'm sure many people are thinking, really, the Blue Jays? And I'll explain to you why. So the Blue Jays, they actually had a decent offseason. They tried going after a couple of big names like Roki Sasaki and Juan Soto. Obviously, the price tags were just too high for those guys to bring in. So instead, they brought in Anthony Santander, their biggest offseason move, to a 5-year deal. They also brought in Jeff Hoffman to help out the bullpen. They brought in Max Scherzer. And they made a trade with the Guardians to bring in Andre Jimenez to help solidify their defense. So the reason why I have the Blue Jays finishing second is because I think they're going to be playing with a little bit more of a chip or an urgency on their shoulder. I also think my American League most valuable player prediction is on the Blue Jays in 2025.
I know where you're going.
My prediction for the AL MVP in 2025 is Vlad Jr. This is a contract year for him. I know for a fact he wants to be paid, and I think he's going to go all out this year, and I think he's going to have a big year for the Blue Jays, and I think he's going to propel them back to the postseason. And I think it's going to be the last chance for the Blue Jays.
Soto a lot this past year. That's essentially, I think, you're probably looking at.
Yep. So my prediction for the 2025 American League Most Valuable Player is Vlad Jr., and I think he's going to be a big reason for the Blue Jays to get back to the postseason. So Pacoda has the Blue Jays, like I mentioned, around 85 wins and 77 losses, and I have the Blue Jays in second place at 89 wins and 73 losses. Like I said, I like the move of Santander. I think bringing in some power definitely helps out, and I think, Scherzer, I know, has declined in recent years, but I think he has one good season left in him. Respectful. I'm not talking about Cy Young caliber numbers, but I think he does have one more. I think he has just a little bit left in the tank this season. So we'll see if I'm right on any of those predictions. Third place, I have your Red Sox for me. I predicted the Red Sox to finish in third place in my
Mhm.
prediction. I have them going 86 and 76. I think I think the moves that they made in the pitching department were very good, bringing guys like Garrett Crochet, Walker Buehler. I definitely think that helps them out there. And also bringing in Aroldis Chapman to help out the bullpen, I think is huge. The offense is still a question mark for me. The Red Sox offense last year was a little too inconsistent for my liking. I think the Red Sox definitely needed to add at least one more bat in that lineup. And at this point, it seems less and less likely that Alex Bregman will be coming to Boston. So
They could be going to Arenado, though.
what's that?
They could be looking at Arenado. That's pretty much
They could. That would be a big move too. So I think if the Red Sox added one more bat in their lineup, I think I would have put them in second place. But because I think they're just lacking just a little bit in their offense going into 2025, I have them in third place at 86 and 76. Still a very respectable season, though. And if I'm looking at the rest of my projected standings, they would be the last wild card team in my standings. So I have the Red Sox in third. Pecota, though, only has them at 78 and 84, which I think is kind of harsh. I don't think that's it.
Buehler and Crochet should already add wins as is. If they add Bregman or they add Arenado, that should just jump that number.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have the Red Sox in third in my predictions. Fourth, I have the Orioles at 84 and 78, which might seem harsh to some people. But in our previous episode, I said that the Orioles did absolutely nothing in the offseason other than bring in guys like Tyler O'Neill, Gary Sanchez, and Charlie Morton. And I'm sorry, I don't think that's enough. You lost Corbin Burns, you lost Santander. And yeah, you got guys like Gunnar Henderson, Ryan Mountcastle, and Adley Rutschman, very solid hitters and ball players overall. But that pitching rotation is very suspect. I don't trust it. Like I said, you're relying on guys like Morton and Dean Kramer. Kramer's a decent arm, but he's nothing spectacular.
Christian Rodriguez, who's had injury problems. Kyle Bradish, he's had some injury problems. They also brought in the Japanese guy, but you don't know anything about him. So I 100%.
Yeah, and I know Felix Bautista is coming back, but he's coming back from Tommy John, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So you don't know what you're going to get out of him, and you don't know when exactly he's going to be coming back this season. I don't know if he'll be ready.
He'll probably come back at the start of the season, but you just don't know what type of shape he's going to be in.
Yeah. So. Yeah, the Orioles I think needed to do a lot more, and they took a big step back, winning 10 less games in 24 than they did in 23. I think they needed to do more than what they did. So I have the Orioles at 84 and 78 compared to what Pecota has them, winning the division at 89 and 73. And in last place for me, I have the Rays at 73 and 89. The Rays, every year you say they're not going anywhere, so I could be wrong about this. But this year, I feel pretty certain that the Rays are going to have a rough season. The Rays basically they didn't really get anybody. They got a few guys. They signed Ha-Sung Kim to a 2-year deal, which is a decent signing. And they also brought in Danny Jansen, who is a notorious Yankee killer.
So, just because now he's a Tampa Bay Ray, Ryan, we know he's going to tear us up.
Yeah, so he'll kill us now as a Ray. They also signed Eloy Jimenez, who was a massive disappointment for the White Sox.
The guy. Studied.
I had no idea what people saw in this guy. Absolutely no idea. So they signed him to a minor league deal. And, the Rays, they lost Jose Siri, that's their biggest name, and Jeffrey Springs and Dylan Carlson. I have no idea who the other two guys Springs I know. I don't really know who Carlson is. But
switch hitter. He played with the Cardinals.
All right. But regardless, the Rays, I just don't think their roster is very good. I don't really see a lot of threats in that lineup or that rotation. I think McClanahan, though, is supposed to come back this season. They're going to be but he's coming back from Tommy John as well. You don't know exactly what you're going to get out of him. He's probably going to be.
He'll probably still be solid.
He'll be solid, but he'll probably be on an innings limit in the beginning just to get him acclimated to another full season. But he's had a ton of injury history as well. I don't know if you can trust him, for a full season. And also the Rays playing in Steinbrenner Field for a full season. It's going to take some getting used to. I just think this is going to be a tough year for the Rays. So I have them finishing last at 73 and 89 compared to what Pecota has. They have the Rays at around 82 and 80 or 81 and 81. But I think the Rays are in for a tough season. So what do you think? What are your predictions? Do you disagree, agree with anything that on my end or Pacoda's end? If you remember, if you need me to repeat any information, because I know I just threw a lot out there.
No, you said it pretty well. I mean, I disagree with one part of your prediction, but I'll probably just go into my predictions now, so you'll kind of have a pretty good idea in terms of where me and you differentiate. But we have a couple of the other pieces pretty much all in place. So I do have the Yankees in first place. I know that obviously losing Soto was a big part, but I do think your pitching got a lot better. I mean, Max Fried and Garrett Cole, I think, are probably the best 2-1-2 punch in that division for sure. So with that being alone, I have the Yankees right now about in the mid 90s, like you mentioned, about 94, 95 wins. I do think, like you mentioned, the offense takes a step back. But you guys, in the regular season, with Aaron Judge, you guys have been fine. And it's really just about specifically the postseason, in terms of banking on other guys to step up. That's essentially we're going to have guys like Aaron Judge and some others to step up when it comes to October. But it's not a problem when it comes to regular season. So I got the Yankees in number one. Number two, so you have the Blue Jays. For me, and I know this is obviously going to be a gamble, I still have the Orioles in my number two. And the reason why specifically is I really still like their offense a lot. I mean, between Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, they just got pieces left and right there. And I think that a couple of those pieces are probably going to take a step up. And so I think the Orioles are probably going to have around 88, 89 wins. Their bullpen I still think is pretty solid. When I look at the other teams like the Sox, the Blue Jays, and the Rays, I feel pretty confident still that the Orioles, despite losing guys like Corbin Burns, I think that their pitching probably will take a step back, but I think that their offense is going to do enough to carry them at least to the 2 spot. For me, for the 3rd spot, I'm going to go with my Red Sox. I think they're going to be right around 86 wins, 87 wins, like you mentioned. I do think that if they add Bregman or Arenado, I don't think that really changes a whole lot specifically in their win total. I think it's going to be pretty much right around there regardless. And then for me, I got the Blue Jays in 4th. I understand they got Santander, but there's still a lot of questions. Does George Springer make that next jump? He's obviously not the same guy he once was. Outside of Vladdy, Bo Bichette had a really down year last year. Maybe he bounces back, but there's just so many unknown questions with some of their star guys outside of Vladdy that it's kind of hard for me to rely on them to make that step up. I mean, I'm hopeful for it. And Max Scherzer, great piece, but he's obviously getting up there in age. Chris Bassett, obviously, fine pitcher. Kevin Gausman, fine pitcher. He's not the same guy he once was. So for me, I mean, the bullpen's fine, but they lost Jordan Romano. A piece that they've really relied on for a while. I don't know if I rely on that bullpen much. So I got the Blue Jays in 4th, and then I have the Rays in last. Obviously the Rays, they obviously couldn't be able to spend a lot of money because of their change for the ballpark. But they're never a much spending team as is anyway. So I got the Yankees in 1st, the Orioles in 2nd, the Red Sox in 3rd, the Blue Jays in 4th, and the Rays in last.
Yeah, like you said, the only difference between us is that I have the Blue Jays in 2nd, while you have the Orioles in 2nd. So the Orioles and Blue Jays are in different spots. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the main reason why I picked the Blue Jays in 2nd is because I just think Vladdy is going to win the MVP this year. I just think he's going to have a monstrous year and just carry that Blue Jay team all the way to the playoffs. And I mean, if Vladdy, that's obviously depending on if he stays healthy for the season and all that stuff. But that's my AL MVP prediction. Those are our American League East standings, though. We both agree that the Yankees will probably repeat as the division champions. We both agree that the Red Sox will be around 86 wins for 3rd place. And we both agree that the Rays are going to finish last in the division. So those are our AL East predictions. Now we'll move on to the American League Central Division. So the way Pacoda has it, so the AL Central, every year, it seems like there's a different division winner. So the way that the Central has it, the Central has their projected win and loss total. They have the Twins winning the division at around 85 wins and 77 losses. They have the Royals in second at just like 81 and 81. And they have the Guardians in third at around 80 and 82. They have the Tigers in fourth at around 79 and 83. And then they have the White Sox in last at around 61 and 101.
Hey, progress.
That's a massive step up for the White Sox to win 20 more games than they lost from last year. But looking at this right away, my predictions are vastly different from Pacoda. Aside from the White Sox finishing last, I'm pretty sure every other team's in a different spot. So the way that I have it, I have the Tigers winning the AL Central this season at 90 wins and 72 losses. The Tigers, I thought, had a pretty good offseason. They brought back Jack Flaherty to a 2-year deal. And like I mentioned when I was talking about the Yankees, they signed Gleyber Torres and Tommy Kahnle to 1-year deals. And they also brought in Alex Cobb. And, the Tigers, they didn't really lose anybody notable. And I think that, this young core group of players is going to really, I think, benefit from the experience that they had of making it to the playoffs last year. I think they're going to play with a lot more confidence. And I think, and like I mentioned, I think AJ Hinch is a very good manager, and I think he really connects with these guys, and I think he's going to help them take the next step up. I really like guys like Spencer Torkelson. I like Trey Sweeney. I kind of honestly wish Trey Sweeney was our starting shortstop over Anthony Volpe, actually. I think that's the direction I would have went. No offense, Volpe. But I like Torkelson. I like Sweeney. I'm blanking on a lot of guys off the top of my head. Torres should really help them out a little bit in the power department. I think he could probably maybe pop like 15 or 16 home runs. I know Comerica Park's a tough place to hit home runs, but Torres, he's always been a solid hitter. He can also be a little bit of an airhead, though, so they may take a step back defensively with him. But overall, I think the Tigers are heading in the right direction, and I have them winning their first division title since 2014. So it's been 11 years since the Tigers have been AL Central champs, and I think that they bring that title back to the Motor City this season. In second place, like Pacoda, I do have the Royals, but I have them at 88 and 74. The Royals, I'm just looking at some of the moves that they made for this offseason. So the Royals, they brought in Jonathan India from Cincinnati, which I think is a pretty nice move for them. Carlos Estevez is probably going to be their closer. I don't really love Estevez. I think he's too inconsistent for my liking. So it is what it is, though. Michael Lorenzen re-signed with them to a 1-year deal, and the Royals also brought in Joey Weimer in a trade with the Reds. And a notable subtraction for the Royals, or notable subtractions, are Brady Singer and Adam Frazier. So, the Royals had a very good season, obviously. They returned to the postseason last year as well. And they upset the Orioles in the wild card round before falling to the Yanks. So, I like the Royals lineup still, even though they're losing guys like Paul DeJong, Yuli Gurriel, and Tommy Pham. But, they still got Bobby Witt, obviously. I mean, he's the face of the franchise now, and he's going to be there for quite some time. MJ Melendez, he kind of had a down year last year, but, he's a solid ball player. I think he can, hit around maybe 250 or something like that. There are a bunch of other guys I'm just not too familiar with off the top of my head. I think Kyle Isbell's in Kansas City still.
Yeah, they got Hunter Renfroe.
Yep.
Yeah, you mentioned Pasquantino, Perez, and Witt. Those are obviously kind of their core three. And then they also have guys like Delson Velasquez, Drew Waters, kind of like secondary type of guys, but probably guys that will help them at some point.
Yeah, and like I said, they had a good year last year, and I think Quatraro is the right guy for the job. So I have the Royals finishing second at 88 and 74. In third place, I have the defending AL Central champion Guardians, and the reason why I have them in third is because I was not impressed with their offseason at all. They really didn't do much. They traded guys like Josh Naylor to the Diamondbacks. They traded Andre Jimenez to the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
I really don't know what they were aiming for with that trade. They lost Matthew Boyd and Alex Cobb in free agency. I mean, neither of those guys. I mean, we talked about Boyd a couple of episodes ago. Boyd's a solid pitcher, but he's kind of had an
They're
injury.
good back end guys though to have though.
Yeah, it would be nice for depth. Coming in this season, the Guardians, they re-signed Austin Hedges and Shane Bieber. Carlos Santana is making his 1,000th return to Cleveland in 2025. This guy's always on the Guardians like every 4 or 5 years, it seems like. He'll leave for a couple of years and then come back to Cleveland. They also brought in Paul Sewald and Luis Ortiz on the pitching side. So I just didn't really see how the Guardians got better, really. I think they did more subtractions than additions. And, when you're trading more guys, that tells me that you're more interested in shedding salary rather than improving your team. And I just don't really like what the Guardians did this offseason. And I think they're going to take a step back in terms of their win and loss total. So I only have them finishing at 83 and 79 and then third in the Central compared to what Pacoda has. I'm kind of similar with Pacoda on this one. They have the Guards finishing in third place with like 80, 81 wins. So we're kind of similar there. Fourth place, I have the Twins. This is the big difference between me and Pacoda. They have the Twins winning the Central. I have them finishing in fourth at 77 and 85. The Twins this season going in, they really have not made any acquisitions at all. They've been only in talks with guys. They were apparently in talks with guys like Harrison Bader and Danny.
They got Bader.
They did get Bader. Okay, so they brought in Harrison Bader. And they brought in a lefthanded. They brought in a left-hander, Danny Colomé. I think that's his name.
Lefty. I think that's a good piece for them, actually. I always feel like the Twins always need lefty bullpen arms.
Yeah, they definitely do. But they lost Kyle Farmer. They lost Max Kepler. They lost Carlos Santana. They lost Caleb Thielbar. And they lost who?
Yeah, Thielbar. Yeah.
Thielbar and Giovanni Moran in a trade with the Red Sox. So they did more subtraction than addition. That lineup is very strikeout prone, and I just don't see how I don't know how Pacoda has them winning the division this year. I honestly have no idea. So I think the Twins finished fourth at 77 and 85. And last but not least, White Sox, dead last, deservedly so. Pacoda has them winning 61 games. That's generous. I have them going 53 and 109. So about 12 more wins this season, but still god awful. The White Sox, though, it looks like they've finally made some kind of decent moves to get themselves going back on track. But still, they got a long way to go. They have a very long way to go. So yeah, those are my AL Central predictions. What are yours? Do you have any comparisons or differences in yours compared to mine or Pacoda? If you need me to repeat, just let me know.
Yeah. So remember last year, Robin, I predicted this division. We thought that it was gonna be tough, right? And we had no idea in terms of who was gonna win it, and it turned out. And we also thought too it was gonna be one of the worst divisions when we looked at the overall teams, and it turned out to be one of the best divisions because 3 of the 5 teams were able to get in the playoffs of this past year. So I think it's going to be very similar to this year. But yeah, like you mentioned, there was a couple of teams in there that did not make any moves. And I think that's going to be one thing specifically in this case where I see it here. So my number one is going to be the Kansas City Royals. I think that specifically when I look at them and the Tigers, I think that both their teams are very, very good. The Royals can go 3 deep specifically in their rotation. And I think that's where specifically I have them with the advantage over the Tigers. Reagans, Waka, and Lugo. Lugo was obviously an AL Cy Young candidate last year. Reagans has ace caliber type of stuff. And then you have Waka, who they obviously extended this past year. So with that all along, I think I have them good enough to get in the low 90s and be just good enough to win the AL Central. And then I have the Tigers finishing second. I think obviously Scoble is going to be great again. Flaherty is obviously a great addition again. I don't know if Flaherty is going to give you the ace caliber stuff as your number 2. And then outside of him, they have Kenta Maeda, Reese Olson, Casey Mize, Alex Cobb. Good pieces. But, I mean, when I look at between them and the Royals, I just think that the Royals can go 3 deep and they have ace caliber stuff. over there. So, and then the Tigers offense, decent offense. I mean, they obviously, I think, overachieved a lot last year as well too. So I think that they are kind of due for a little bit of a regression. I still think they're going to be good, but I think that they're going to be due for a little regression, especially after what happened. Obviously guys like Kerry Carpenter and Riley Green, I think, are going to take a ton of the slack. You mentioned Spencer Torkelson, but I wouldn't rule out. I mean, I guess the Mets just got Alonso, so they're talking about Torkelson with the trade with them. I don't think he's going to get traded now, though. So, but yeah, I have the Tigers in second. My third one is going to be the Minnesota Twins. I think that the Twins, yes, they haven't made a lot of moves, but I do think they still have a very. I'm sorry, change it. The Guardians are going to be my number 3.
Yeah,
I had to kind of think about that because the Minnesota Twins and the Minnesota Twins didn't make a lot of pieces, but the Guardians lost some pieces. So that kind of caught me a little bit off guard. But I think the Cleveland Guardians still have a very good bullpen. They were ranked one of the best bullpens last year, with Smith and Clase at the back end. I think that all along should get them in the playoffs as probably a wild card this year for the Guardians. I think they could be one of the top wild card teams. So I have the Guardians in third. Then I have the Twins in fourth, and then I have the White Sox finishing in last.
All right. So the only difference that we have is a division winner. You have the Royals, and I have the Tigers winning the division. That was the tricky part for me. I was debating whether or not to go with the Royals or the Tigers to win this division. Initially, I actually had the Royals winning the division, but I thought to myself, I mean, their offense besides Bobby Witt is nothing spectacular, but the same can be said with the Tigers. And like you said, the Tigers they kind of overachieved a little bit. They didn't get hot till the very tail end of the season. So,
they were one of the worst teams last year in the first half, and we were all like, they're probably going to be sellers, and they had one of the best turnarounds in baseball, at least in some time.
Yeah, so, I could see the Tigers taking a bit of a step back going into 2025. I mean, and like you said, a lot of guys there, have barely been in the big leagues. For a couple of seasons. So honestly, maybe thinking about it, I wouldn't be surprised if the Royals won the division, but I'll stick with what I jotted down. I'll stick with the Tigers winning the division, but I only have them winning by 2 games. I think it's going to be tightly
close.
I'm sorry.
I said it'll be close.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a battle this year between the Royals and the Tigers for first place, and we basically agree on everything else with the AL Central from 3 to 5. So those are our American League Central predictions, and finally we'll move over to the American League West. And for years, this division has been dominated by the Houston Astros, really dating back to 2017. Pacoda, for their 2025 predictions, they have the Rangers winning the AL West this year at around 89 and 73. They have the Astros finishing second at around 76 and around 86 and 76. They have the Mariners in third at around 85 and 77. At around 85 and 77. They have the Angels in fourth at 76 and 86, around there. And they have the A's in last at around 70 and 92. So I agree with Pacoda on the Rangers winning the division. I think the Rangers finally end the Astros' reign of AL West division championships this year. I like some of the moves that they made. They re-signed Nathan Eovaldi to a 3-year deal. They brought in Jock Peterson on a 2-year deal. They also brought in Jake Berger, who can provide additional pop if they need it. Kyle Higashioka is coming over on a 2-year deal. Higashioka has always been a solid catcher. His bat hasn't been anything spectacular, but he also has some sneaky power, so he can hit a home run every once in a while. And they also helped out their bullpen a little bit by signing guys like Chris Marr and Jacob Webb, Holby Milliner, and Sean Armstrong. And they didn't really lose anybody too notable. I mean, they still have a couple of guys in the free agency department who haven't been signed yet. But I think the Rangers obviously disappointing 2024 after winning the World Series in 23, took a step back. But, in fairness, they dealt with a lot of injuries last season. And like I said, I do like a lot of the moves that they made, and I think they're going to get back on track in 2025. So I have the Rangers winning the American League West in 2025 with a record of 96-66. I'm taking the gamble on that one, which would be the best record in the American League. But I have the Rangers winning their first AL West Division title since 2016. I almost said 2012. They haven't won the division in 9 years, and since 2017, with the exception of the COVID season in 2020, it's been all Astros in the American League West. So I have the Rangers winning that division. And speaking of the Astros, in second place, I have the Astros at 87-75. The Astros, this is a big season for them. It's probably their biggest question mark of a season in quite some time. The Astros obviously have lost a key piece to their lineup, Kyle Tucker. They made a trade with the Cubs, and they let go of Tucker. So they're going to be relying a lot on, and obviously, we don't know if Alex Bregman's going to come back yet still or not. But at this point, Bregman can go anywhere at this point. But you don't know if he's going to be coming back or not.
Montgomery.
Yeah. Bregman's a question mark. Jose Altuve, he's getting up there in age, and there's talk about him moving to left field for this season. Apparently he's been taking a step back as a second baseman. I haven't really seen anything that tells me that he's regressing as a second baseman.
He was only going to go to left field if Bregman was going to be coming back, and it doesn't seem likely. So I think he's going to play in second.
Yes. So Altuve, he's still a pesky, dangerous hitter. I know he's going to be in his mid-30s. He's going to be 35 this year, but I'll never, downplay Altuve's skills ever.
No.
So, they'll be relying on him. Obviously, they still have Yordan Alvarez, who I think this is his contract year, if I'm not mistaken, or this year, next year.
Yeah.
Actually, no, he had signed an extension. So
yeah, I was going to say.
So he's got a couple more years there. So, they still have Yordan. They still have Altuve. Christian Walker is taking over the reins at first base. Decent signing, but Walker is kind of all or nothing. But with the Crawford boxes in left field, he should be able to hit at least 30 home runs there this season. Jeremy Pena, solid ball player, has just not recaptured his 2022 form just yet. He had a decent season last year. After a tricky season in 2023. So, but Pena, he's a solid ball player. The Astros rotation, though, is a little suspect. They got, they do have Framber Valdez, who at this point I think is the ace of that rotation, and Ronel Blanco. The bullpen obviously anchored by Josh Hader as the closer. So, the Astros still have some big names, and I think they do have talent. And, every year you think they'll go away, but I don't think they'll completely go away this season. But I just think they're going to take a little bit of a step back because I think losing Kyle Tucker definitely hurts them. And the fact that they don't know if Bregman's coming. It looks like Bregman's not going to come back either, at least as of this moment. So I have the Astros taking a step back, but my record would be good enough for them still to get into the playoffs as a wild card. I have the Astros in second at 87-75. In third place, I have the A's, the Sacramento A's for this season. I'm taking a little bit of a gamble here.
I like it though, Ryan. All right.
I have the A's finishing third place in the American League West this season. I like some of the moves that they made. I don't think it's anything that moves the needle to be a playoff team necessarily. But I like the additions of Severino and Jeffrey Springs. Gio Urshela has been signed to a 1-year deal. They obviously extended Brent Rooker. And I honestly think that the A's are going to acclimate themselves to Sacramento quite nicely. I think they're going to enjoy themselves. And I still feel bad for the city of Oakland, though. It's really sad. but I think that the A's had one of their more productive off seasons in quite some time. And I think they're going to start to slowly get better beginning with this season. I'm not saying they're going to be a playoff team this year, but I do think there's reason to be optimistic if you're an A's fan with some of the moves that they made. So I have the A's finishing in third place in the American League West this season at 80-82. So that's my prediction for the A's. So still under 500, but just barely. And I think they can only go up from here. I think it's gonna be a respectable season for the A's. Fourth place, I have the Mariners at 76-86. I hated what the Mariners did this offseason, which was practically nothing. They did nothing to address that offense. That offense was absolutely abysmal last season. You cannot tell me that Cal Raleigh, J.P. Crawford are going to be, I know they got Julio, but Cal Raleigh, he's a home run or a strikeout. Everybody on that lineup is a home run or a strikeout. Crawford, solid ball player with a glove, cannot swing the bat. I'm looking at the Mariners right now, I'm seeing what they did here. See, now that's the Rangers. Oh, Mariners, here we go. Their notable acquisitions, Donovan Solano, Miles Mastrobuoni, and Jorge Polanco. Get out of here. Get the hell out of here, Seattle. I'm honestly furious that they did not do anything. And I think it's going to cost them. I think they're going to take a big step back. I think their offense is not going to do anything. They're pitching. And honestly, they got solid arms in their rotation. They still have Luis Castillo. Brian Wu's a very good pitcher as well. But I don't think their pitching is going to match the success that they had last season. I think their pitching is also going to take a little bit of a step back this year. And like I said, they really needed to do more. So if I had to pick the lolcow of the offseason in Major League Baseball, I would give it to the Mariners for not doing anything. Mariners, fourth place, 76-86. I have some pretty harsh words there for them. So
it's okay.
I have the Mariners in fourth at 76-86. And in last, I have the Angels at 70-92. The Angels, they made a couple of moves, this offseason. They brought in Yusei Kikuchi and Kyle Hendricks to help them out with their rotation. They also brought in Jorge Soler, Travis d'Arnaud, and J.D. Davis to a minor league deal. Also signed Tim Anderson to a minor league deal. But, the Angels,
It's the Angels, Ryan.
The Angels. I just don't see them being competitive this year.
Who's the Angels? I don't even. Oh, Ron Washington. Yeah, third.
Ron Washington. The Angels are coming off their worst season in franchise history last season when they almost lost 100 games. And, I think the Angels will be better this year. I have them finishing last at 70 wins and 92 losses. So that would be a 7-game improvement, or actually 6. Holy crap, I can't do math right now. Yes, a 7-game improvement from last year. But yeah, it's the Angels. It's the Angels, and that's basically all I got to say. So those are my predictions for the West, which is drastically different than Pacoda. So just to quickly recap, the West Pacoda they had the Rangers and Astros in 1 and 2, but 3 to 4 are completely different than me. They had the Mariners in third, Angels in fourth, A's in fifth. I have the A's in third, the Mariners in fourth, and the Angels in fifth. So what are your predictions for the AL West?
Okay, we're going to be a little different. Probably the most different out of the whole entire other divisions. So for me, I'm going to go with the Astros at number 1. I know their pitching definitely isn't as good as Texas, but I absolutely still love their offense. And you can't underestimate a champion, as pretty much what you have seen in sports. So I know Bregman and Tucker, that's a massive amount of production loss, but I think Walker and Zach Paredes are great replacements for them. Their swing is made for them. So I think that the power department for both of those guys just put in there. If they didn't have anybody to replace them, I'd probably go with them as 2. But I think that Paredes and Walker are great fits. You can put them in with guys like Altuve and Jordan. So I'm going to have them at number 1. They still have a couple of guys in the rotation. I still like Hunter Brown, was very, very good last year, and Spencer Arrighetti, 2 really good young pitchers for them. So I don't think that they lost a ton specific on their arms. And Lance McCullers Jr., I think will also come back as well too. So they still have a decent amount of depth, and Ronel Blanco was one of the better pitchers last year in the American League. So I got the Astros at number 1. Texas, I got number 2. And the reason why I have Texas at number 2 is we saw a lot of it last year. Texas has a lot of great arms, but a lot of great arms with a lot of arm problems. Jacob deGrom, Nathan Eovaldi, Dane Dunning, Jack Leiter, Kamar Rocker. Great arms. I love their arms. I think they like their arms a lot better than Houston's arms, but I just don't trust them specifically to stay healthy. And Texas is one of my sleeper teams when it comes to offensively. Love the moves that they made offensively. Obviously keep guys like Adolis Garcia, Corey Seager, and others really happy. Jock Peterson, great overall bat over there. I think he's going to absolutely rake. Jake Berger, really good fit there over at first base. Really good balance in that lineup for the Rangers. And obviously under manager Bruce Bochy, I think that, they'll do enough, specifically definitely get my 2 spot. Number 3, and I know you obviously just ragged on them and I was laughing about it with you, but I'm going to go Seattle at 3. I'd still like the rotation arms compared to the A's and the Angels arms. So I think with that being said, even though they didn't do anything, I 100% agree with you. If I look at the 3 teams in terms of that 3rd spot, I still have to put the Mariners there. Randy Rosarina, Kyle Raleigh, obviously still a great bat. Julio, I think, definitely has a much better year this year compared to last year. Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Bryce Miller, Brian Wu. Their arms are absolutely disgusting. So I think with that being said, I'm going to have them and Castillo, unless they trade one of those arms specifically somewhere. Hint, hint. I think the Orioles would trade for Castillo or somebody else in that rotation, but that's another story for another day. Give me the Mariners at 2. At 3. At 4, I'm going to go with the A's. I think that the A's do make a step up this year. I just don't know if it's going to be step up into number 3. Like you mentioned, obviously that's very bold of you, Ryan. I do respect it. But the A's still have a lot of work to do. I think that they're probably going to win around 70, low 70s to me. Probably like 70 and like 90 losses, 95 losses around there. I think that their offense still needs some work, but obviously adding Brent Rooker and extending him is massive. They don't have a lot in their bullpen, obviously outside of Mason Miller. But their rotation, I think, a lot better. I mean, getting Severino in there, getting another couple arms. I think Kyle Gibson would be a great fit for them as well too. He's still out there on the market, so I think the A's probably have them right around that at 4, and then I have the Angels. The Angels, let's be real. Mike Trout, love Mike Trout. You can never have him on the field consistently. Anthony Rendon, we've talked about Anthony Rendon at a crazy clip on this show. Never gets stay on the field, and he cares more about specifically him not playing. So with that all being said, they're 2 best guys. Yeah, I got to put them in last. Jorge Soler, great arm. Great arm, at least in the field, but obviously great bat. Darno, decent bat, but they're pitching, Kyle Hendricks, Kikuchi, solid, but nothing like screams out to you in terms of for them. Between them and the A's, I kind of like the A's a little bit more better right now. I mean, Lawrence Butler, obviously, really good bat for them. The A's, I think, are going to take a step up, and I think the A's are going to take a step back. I think this is kind of the way that those 2 teams right now in the back end of the division kind of trending right now. So right now, I got the Astros in 1, Texas in 2, Seattle at 3, the A's at 4, and the Angels at 5.
Yeah, I can see that happening too. One guy who I hope takes off this year for the Angels is pitcher Caden Dana. He's a young prospect. I actually graduated high school with his older brother Colin. So it would warm my heart to see him have a nice breakout season for the Angels this year. I hope he gives the fans something to cheer about this year as the Angels prepare to endure what I think is going to be another long, tough season for them. So those are our division picks. And, I mentioned to you my American League MVP pick. I have Vlad Jr. winning the AL MVP this year for my Cy Young Award pick. I think, you know what? You'll probably go thank you to me if I tell you this. You know what? My MVP award pick is Vlad Jr. My Cy Young Award pick, I'm going to go with Garrett Crochet.
Hey, let's get it.
I think he's going to have a very good year for the Red Sox this year. I think he's going to shove at Fenway Park. And I think that he's really going to solidify that Red Sox rotation. So I have Guerrero winning AL MVP, Crochet winning the Cy Young. And I'll do my comeback player of the year as well. Prediction for the comeback player of the year, I'm going to go Max Scherzer for the Blue Jays. I think he'll have one more good season in him. One more nice season. I'll say he wins maybe around 12 to 13 games for the Blue Jays, has an ERA maybe like 3.25, something like that. Nothing super spectacular, but respectable. Because
that's pretty good, kind of for what he is at this age right now.
He's like 42. I think he's 42 going into this season, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. But I'll give Scherzer one last shine in the sun for 2025. And so those are my 3 personal award predictions. Do you have any personal predictions off the top of your head for AL MVP, Cy Young, or comeback player of the year?
Yeah, definitely MVP for sure. I think it's going to be kind of similar to the 3 guys we had last year, or at least close to it. Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt Jr., Gunnar Henderson. Bobby Witt Jr., you, my friend, are going to be the AL MVP of this year. Guy's an absolute stud. Absolutely love this game. He is what we call in baseball, Ryan, a 5-tool player, and is just elite at absolutely everything. And I think that definitely he's going to ball out this year for Kansas City and, obviously have them winning the division. So I think that obviously he's going to propel them to a division title. My Cy Young, I love the Crochet pick, and this is not me being biased, obviously, as a Sox fan. I like Crochet regardless. But, oh, man. So make you happy because you made me happy. I'm going to go with Max Fried, AL Cy Young for the Yankees. I think that, he is made for that park. He's a ground ball pitcher specifically. And I know, obviously, Garrett Cole is going to get a ton of the, media over there. But I think that Max Fried coming in, of course, he was great over with the Atlanta Braves. He got a ton of media over there specifically and all the recognition. So I'm going to go out on a limb because why not? I think Max Fried for me is going to be my Cy Young. And then my comeback player of the year, oh, man, that's a tough one. I mean, I do like the Max Scherzer pick. God. I guess, can you technically put Crochet, I guess, in there?
But, I guess you could because he got off to a great start with the White Sox and kind of took a step back as the season.
Yeah, they didn't like the White Sox kind of limited his innings.
Yeah.
They're thinking he was going to get traded.
Yeah.
I mean, I would put Crochet in there. I just don't know specifically if that would kind of count. I mean, he was comeback player of the year in 2024 because he had Tommy John as his first season coming back from Tommy John.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I could obviously have that as kind of a repeat. We might have to come back to that specifically throughout the season. I'll probably be able to get back to you a lot better for that.
Well, I just wanted to throw in one more prediction, and this might be me being a little biased here because I can't really name anybody else off the top of my head. AL Rookie of the Year, I'm going Jason Dominguez. I think he's going to have a nice, solid first season with the Yankees here, and that would be the second straight season that the Yankees would have the Rookie of the Year winner. Obviously, Luis Gil won it last year, so I'm going to keep the trend going. I hope they do. I hope that trend continues. I hope Dominguez has a solid first season in Major League Baseball. Please stay on the field, though, for God's sake. You're 21 years old and you've had so many injury problems. And I actually found out that I share a birthday with Dominguez, as a matter of fact.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, so it'll make sense now.
Yeah, you know when it is?
So for me, and I'm going to go, I mean, you could kind of technically make him Speakley as a rookie. He's still very, very young. You'll probably know in terms of where I'm about to hint specifically with this, but he did come with the system last year for a American League team. If I say the team is going to be an absolute, you're going to know it. But he came in, he struggled, he went back down to AAA.
I know who it is.
And then he came back. I told you. And then he came back and he's starting to kind of turn things around. But I think this is the year that he really makes the next step. and that's going to be Jackson Holliday from the Baltimore Orioles. I still really believe a lot in this kid. Yeah, I think that, that's why I have the Orioles still up there, because I think Jackson Holliday is going to become the player that I think not only Oriole fans want, but I think that the American League wants. So that's going to be, that could be my comeback player of the year, to be honest, too. I mean, I guess if you kind of look at it that way, but he really didn't come back from anything specifically hurt-wise. It was more to the fact he just got the minute, came back. But Rookie of the Year, 100%, Jackson Holliday. Mark my word.
All right, so we got some interesting picks for our personal player awards. So just to quickly recap, I got Vlad Jr. for AL MVP, Garrett Crochet for the Cy Young. Comeback player is Max Scherzer. AL Rookie of the Year is Jason Dominguez. For you have Bobby Witt winning AL MVP this year. For Cy Young, I don't know if you picked anybody just yet because it's
Max Fried.
Max Fried. Comeback player of the year. I don't know if you picked anybody just yet.
I didn't pick anybody for comeback. No. I just don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. And finally, for Rookie of the Year, you have Jackson Holliday. So we got some interesting choices. We'll see. We'll definitely go back to this video at the end of the year once everything is all said and done to see if we came close or if we got anything correct. I know we had to have gotten something correct. I know that. So
for predictions for this whole show.
Yeah, we had to have gotten something right for
the White Sox. I think are a pretty safe bet.
Yes, they're a very safe bet, but yeah. So yeah, those were our American League predictions for 2025. In our next episode, we'll talk about the National League. And before you know it, spring training will be here, and the 2025 season will be here as well. So on behalf of Ben Kruse, I'm Ryan Touhey. We'll see you next time.